All right. Well, good morning, everyone. I hope all is well. We've pretty much wind down another month. It's end of August already. How time flies. It's been an interesting year, but thankfully we've gotten this far, and we appreciate your safety efforts as well. And we're going to go ahead and get started. We'll come back to the FedEx updates at the end. Should have put this portion at the end, but we'll come back to this to wrap up the call. But today we wanted to kind of just talk about a few topics from adverse weather conditions. So the first thing, adverse conditions can visibly affect the road surface. According to the Federal Highway Administration, about 1 in 4 accidents and weather-related, and the NHTSA found about 3 in 4 weather-related crashes occurred on wet pavement. And some things you should consider, how weather conditions can affect your vehicle, how to avoid and handle hydroplaning situations, and how to reduce glare from sunlight. And we'll cover these 3 items under this particular subject, and how they affect you differently. And one thing before we kind of get started, I'm sure you guys are aware, especially in the South where, it kind of rains randomly, middle of the day, it can just start raining. But some of the hardest effects from that is when that fresh rain hits the pavement, hits the concrete, hits the freeway, and the oil starts to make its way to the surface. And then you have a higher likelihood of hydroplaning and skidding and stuff like that. So always be cautious when that stuff starts, and adjust your speeding, adjust your driving conditions accordingly. All right, sorry, my PowerPoint froze. So in extreme weather, there's road surface conditions visibly and vehicle performance. And some of those weather conditions is rain, snow, ice and sleet, wind, fog or smoke, extreme heat or cold. How to handle these weather conditions: avoid driving in extreme weather conditions whenever possible. Use your best judgment. If travel is necessary, which in our industry it is, take every precaution as possible. Stay up to date on local weather reports, including also the report information that FedEx gives you in terms of their alternate routes, and double check your vehicle components. Example, lights, your brakes, windshield wipers, tires, including your spare tires. Check those out as well. Your climate controls, your radio. Make sure all your, I know it could be an inconvenience, but a good pre-trip and post-trip inspection is very, very important, especially in extreme weather conditions. Make sure to avoid driving extreme weather conditions whenever possible. Use your best judgment. Make sure your cell phone is charged in regards to, in case you have to pull over or you're in an area where you might not be able to get to a truck stop. Keep your windows clear of fog and debris. A lot of times when we're driving down the freeway, you see a lot of drivers having papers and, snacks and stuff in the windshield. All those things can affect your visibility. Be mindful of your vehicle's weight. Make your vehicle movements slow and deliberate. Avoid sudden acceleration and braking. Keep your lights on. Avoid using your high beams. Allow for extra travel time. Being able to slow down and allow extra time is way more important than trying to rush and get there, and then you get into an accident or you get into a situation where your vehicle breaks down and you don't make it to your destination on time anyway. Just as an example, from a weather standpoint, and this is just an illustration to show, how with the weight of the vehicle, with the tractor and a trailer, depending on if you have in the 2 trailers in the back, the combinations, or if you're even driving just a 53-footer, with the vehicle weight, how hard it is for you to actually fully come to a complete stop without slamming on the brakes or a sudden maneuver. And they kind of make this illustration in relation to a football field and how it would take about 30 yards, for you to brake, come to a stop in the sunlight. But when you start getting into cloudy and rainy weather, it's and you're going 45 miles an hour, it takes you about 40 yards to stop. When it's actually raining, it's even more of a distance. So we're talking about 75 yards. Um, and then if it's snowing outside or just starting to snow, it takes even longer than a whole football field for you to really come to a stop. So 100 yards from whether one weather condition to the other, it gets harder and harder to stop. So just be mindful of that. And that's why we talk about reducing your speed. And this illustration is just at 45 miles an hour, and is in relation to a car. So imagine how harder it is with a truck your size. You see a lot of accidents where drivers are going too fast, even though the trucks have governors and stuff like that. They're still too fast for the condition that they're driving in, and then the accidents occur. Any questions on that? One of the other key adverse conditions, and this happens out here in California a lot, especially Southern California. I'm sure other parts of the country as well. So when you're here, and especially if you drive to the Rialto hub, strong winds is a huge problem here in Southern California, especially on certain freeways. Some freeways here by the terminal, drivers not even advised to go on those freeways. They're actually taking the streets, which is kind of more of a local thing. But at the same time, the principle is there. It's just the crosswinds and the ability for, just how the freeway is made and how it's just kind of open. The wind comes and it just throws fully loaded trucks and trailers. It just throws them all over the freeway. It's highly dangerous. But for guidelines for strong winds, slow down and keep a firm grip on your steering wheel. For a tailwind, brake earlier because they can build a vehicle's velocity, and be prepared for block wind gusts when you travel past large vehicles, buildings, or an underpass, on the tops of hills and bridges. And like I mentioned about the underpasses is where we see a lot of the tractor trailers get flipped over. And if you're pulling empties and it's very windy, or you get a report that it's going to be windy in a certain area, highly consider alternate route when it's really windy, because empty trailers, they typically flip in strong winds. Fog, slow down, increase following distance, be prepared for vehicles, pedestrians, or animals to appear suddenly. Keep as far to the right as you can and use your low beam headlights and wipers. In dense fog, avoid driving. Drive slowly, never use your high beams. It could be situations where it's so foggy where your visibility is just completely gone. I highly recommend just pulling over and stopping. There's no reason to try to push through in a situation where you absolutely can't see. Hydroplaning. Factors that contribute to hydroplaning is speed, tire tread depth, size and depth of body of the water. And this is an example of 1/10 of an inch or deeper, how your vehicle can just hydroplane out. And I would say definitely in a situation like this, in the investigations I've heard of and seen, looking at the pre-trip inspection and the vehicle maintenance on that vehicle always kind of goes back into play, especially if there's a fatality involved, if there's some type of situation where someone was, critically hurt. They always go back to tires, brakes, trying to determine how fast the driver was going through the Vetter system, maybe. But if there's a situation where the driver didn't check the truck appropriately, tires were bad, and didn't report those defects so they could get fixed in a timely manner before they became uncompliant, these are things that come back on the driver very, very quickly, regardless of if the hydroplaning occurred and you did everything you could. The vehicle maintenance part of it comes into effect. So never take this portion of your job for granted, because it's probably one of the most important before you even start driving. To minimize your risk of hydroplaning, reduce speed in wet or slick conditions. Keep your tires properly inflated and ensure that the threads are in good condition. And that's another thing too. It's not necessarily part of the pre-trip in terms of your tires being properly inflated. A lot of times the check is to see, the tread depth and make sure it's appropriate. But making sure your tires have enough air in is important as well. There's a lot of little tools that you can have in your truck to be able to test the PSI in your tires. I highly recommend that as well to help deal with hydroplaning. If your vehicle is hydroplaning, slow down by easing off the accelerator. Do not use your brakes. Keep a firm grip on your steering wheel. Keep your tires pointed straight ahead and avoid making sudden moves. Driving in snow. Snow can cause reduced traction and visibility as we get ready to go into a different season. This is probably more of a peak situation when the snow, but still good information for you to remember as the times change and weather changes here in the next few months. Clear your vehicle of accumulated snow, windows and mirrors, wipers, roof, front and rear lights. Use your front and rear defrosters, reduce speed, increase following distance, use your headlights, but avoid using high beams in falling snow. Ice and sleet conditions can totally eliminate traction. Expect ice when encountering bridges, overpasses, shady areas, and ice is twice as slippery as 30-degree weather as at 0-degree weather. So the bridges and overpasses is just like we mentioned with the wind. I think people are generally more cautious on those areas. So you don't really see a lot of tractor trailer accidents, at least in the FedEx world, on bridges and stuff like that. Because I think everyone is a little more cautious just because of how high up in the air you are. But try to take that same mentality when you're just driving down the freeway on a flat surface that's not elevated. When driving on ice, just 1 second, let me mute.
Con tu y rolo. En el baño hay una funda blanca. Mételo dentro de la funda blanca.
Okay. When driving on ice and sleet, look ahead for potential problems. Watch for other drivers. Reduce speed. Increase your following distance. And when you encounter ice, ease off the accelerator. Keep the wheel steered in the direction you want to go. Sunlight and glare. This is another important one just from a visibility standpoint. Just some precautions, depending on the time of day when the sun is setting or the sun is rising. Reduce your speed, adjust your sun visor. That's another thing to check your vehicle, make sure the visor is working and it's not broken or hanging. So it's effectively working for you. Wear appropriate sunglasses. Assure that your windshield is clean and use extra caution in the first hour after sunrise or before sunset. And the next topic we're going to talk about, I'm going to show a video about just some tips on how to deal with stress of the job, just stress in general as human beings. And then you have to actually work in those conditions from a stress standpoint. But this is just a quick tip that I saw that I thought was pretty good. Something we kind of talked about before, but just coming from another professional, I thought it was some good information.
The life of commercial truck drivers can be very stressful. And while it's normal to have small amounts of stress, too much stress can have serious consequences. Chronic stress can cause serious problems such as heart disease, anxiety, depression, and sleep problems. And there are many things truck drivers can do to manage their stress levels. One thing to do is exercise, which is proven to reduce stress. Just 15 minutes of daily exercise can provide great benefits. It doesn't need to be anything complicated. A brisk walk around the truck stop will be quite effective. Also, consider spending 10 to 15 minutes to meditate each and every day. Meditation is easy to do and will greatly reduce stress levels. And finally, look for ways to include humor in your life, which typically provides instant stress relief. Check out other stress reduction tips at truckingsos.com. The life of commercial truck drivers.
All right. All right, Xenia or Ian, did you want to cover the second page of the agenda in regards to the
updates?
Updates? Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay. Yeah, I will do that today because Ian is working. Okay, the first area that we have is the FedEx updates, and whether we believe it or not, they are still giving emphasis to using the seatbelt at all times. And ensure that you're using your hand-free device to hold your phone. Some people have a misconception that they can hold the phone while they are talking, but that's not accurate. You cannot hold the phone at any time while you're driving, okay? And that is causing a lot of tickets in some drivers. So never touch your phone while you're driving, and remember, it's the law. Use the phone holder that we have in the tractors. The other thing is the coupling. Make sure they want to let you know that you need to make sure you're using the chains, the pintle hook, the hoses, the cables, and the fifth wheel latch, and it's properly connected. Okay, even when you are moving the dolly alone, you need to put the chains on. Okay, and they have been saying that there has been a couple of improperly assembly issues at the FedEx gate. Remember that the security guard is going to look at your trailers and it's going to look at the dolly, okay? So if they see something wrong, they're going to call line haul and they are going to inform that, and that's considered a disconnection for you guys, okay? So do not rush. The other area they want for you guys to be aware of, and more with the camera system, that you need to use the seatbelt in the yard as well. That should be a standard norm. Okay? Then our updates is please use that seatbelt at all time. Okay? That continues to be our #1 issue in the camera system as well. Okay? And remember that that cannot only result in a serious injury in case of an accident. Okay, remember to adjust, and you just cover that, Aaron. Adjust the speed to conditions when the road is wet, because we want you safe and back at home with your family. Do not rush. And this other is related to the seatbelt, but it's the sleeper berth net. It's there for your safety. Use it. Okay, remember to be on time, because that affects the service. And if we say you need to be there at 10, means out of the gate at 10. And if there's any issue, you have an accident or something, please remember to press the panic button in the camera so we have a better idea of what happened. Okay? And please do not ever cover the cameras. They are there for you. And thank you so much for all you do. We really appreciate your hard work during this crisis and during this hard time. That's all, Aaron.
Thank you. Anybody have any questions? Anything?
Guys, do you have questions? I guess not, Aaron.
All right. Well, we thank you guys for your time. Continue to be safe out there. Continue to do the right thing and make smart decisions when you're out there on the road. And good things will continue to happen. So have a good day.